pitchforks.
And what's your immigration policy then?
The immigration is easy. The center of a nation of its culture. That's it. It's its culture. I don't care whether you're black, white, or brindle. I couldn't give a rat's. It makes no difference. It's only the Labor left Greens that have this obsession with skin color. The rest of us don't. Put me in the sun for more than a week, I'm blacker than Ace of Spades. But I can tell you this.
Don't you think culture is race, essentially? Like a culture.
No, you break it. No. Please, no.
But
break it down
into
constituent.
Yes.
Break it down into.
Culture is basically it comes from your race. Like you don't have Africans making European culture. You don't have Europeans making African culture.
What's at the center of culture?
Our culture.
What's at the center of culture? What's the constituent part? Because you've got culture is informed by geography. Because if you've got water, that informs your culture. If you don't have water, it informs your culture. So there's geography as part number one. Then you've got language, because language informs your brain, literally the neural nets. And that's why you've got certain languages which are so blunt and monolithic almost. The culture reflects that lack of subtlety. We have a language, English, for example. And this is just, I haven't got to the heart of culture yet, but you got to, maybe you're reading a book.
Where does English come from? English comes from the English people. Like English doesn't come from other people.
You can't migrate a Muslim into Australia who believes in Sharia law and give them democratic vote and expect them to not vote according to their traditional culture.
Now you're getting to the point I was getting to.
When you migrate people and you give them a democratic, you introduce them to democracy, you give them a vote, they become an individual in our culture, because that's what we do. We value people as individuals. But if they have a traditional culture that doesn't respect Western values, as a Christian people are going to vote for Christian values. If you immigrate atheists or Muslims, they're going to vote for Muslim values or atheist values. There's a clear distinction. There's more aspects to the whole thing. When you're talking about a democracy, you can't just say, this is the way it is. Well, no. If we migrate Christians, if we migrate Muslims, we're going to see people voting according to their traditional culture and their traditional heritage. Like, it's a fact. I will not change my vote is influenced by my Christian culture and my Christian heritage.
You've nailed it. That's the center of culture. If you work through all the contributing factors that make a culture, at the center, at the very heart of every culture on this planet are its spiritual beliefs. And if you try to import beliefs that are inconsistent with the spiritual beliefs that are already there, it degrades. So you're exactly right. So again, it's not a color issue and it's not an immigration issue, it's a cultural issue. You can bring in white people. I'll give you an example. Color's got nothing to do with it. Tony Jones, ABC, Tony Jones, in my opinion, trash. I wouldn't import another Tony Jones at all. We don't need any more like him. I don't like the guy. I don't like the way he thinks. I don't like what he does. I've got some great friends. They're Ghanaians. They're Ghanaians. They're Christians. Brilliant. It's not a color issue. It's a culture issue. And at the center of culture is religion. It's as simple as that. So
that's not true. Like, so this color, it's a misdirection. What we're talking about here is blood. What we're talking about here is genes. What we're talking about is people who've descended from people who are like us for centuries. In this country, Australia was federated.
Okay, got it. Yeah, okay.
No.
Okay.
So this country was federated to.
Well, we're talking about two different things.
Now I understand the direction of the discussion.
Dusty. Australia was federated to be a homeland for the white British subjects in Australia. That was the whole reason that we became a country. What we've had since World War II, we've had mass immigration, and we were never asked about any of that.
Let's not have a debate now between Dave and Dusty on this, because Ricardo is the featured panelist at this time. We have got a couple of super chats. One from Senator Slayer for $2.99. Ricardo, what do we do with the small hats? I'm not sure.
Sorry, I don't even understand the question. What's that?
Oh, well, Dave, maybe you can, because I remember.
I've got no idea what they're talking about, Tim.
Well, I remember when we played the Australia One promo on the Uncockables, Ricardo talked about Judeo-Christian heritage, and I recall that you took
Jews.
objection to it.
I was talking specifically about race and why Australia was founded. That's the question that I want to be answered.
Okay, how do you want to answer this,
But
Ricardo?
I also think it is important about the cultural side of it.
Dusty,
too.
Ricardo.
I'm coming in from my angle.
Dusty,
Dave coming out
let Ricardo
from
speak.
his
Let
angle.
Ricardo answer.
So I'm having a blonde moment. We're talking about race versus culture. So skin color versus what we believe. You can't change what you can't change. What you're born with, you're born with. And to analyze something for something they cannot change is just ignorant behavior.
It's
to
not
penalize
ignorant.
someone
It's who we are.
To you are, mate. To change to
What do you mean by that, Ricardo?
If you let me finish.
Please go.
You can't criticize someone for something they cannot change. You criticize somebody for something they can change and refuse to change. For example, if I think people with two nostrils are idiots, then I'm the idiot. But if I think someone who believes that you should beat up somebody because they believe a particular religion that doesn't harm you, for example,
okay, but I'm not talking about.
There are religions that harm you.
Ricardo, I'm not talking about criticizing anybody or beating up anybody. What I'm talking about is being proud of who you are, and being proud of your own countrymen, being proud of your people.
Listen, mate, my background's Italian, but I hear the school of a Scottish bagpipe and march the British Grenadiers. My God, I'm 2 inches taller and my back's ramrod straight. Seriously. I shouldn't be here according to your theory. Give me a break.
Can I ask a question in terms of future immigration? Because at the moment we're getting a lot. We're getting, I think it's 200,000 plus people in a year. Just to diffuse the argy-bargy going back and forward, and trying to find, if there is any common ground at all on the immigration issue. Do you believe that the numbers are too high? Would you advocate for drastically cutting all immigration? I'm obviously assuming you're not going to, from what you've been saying earlier, that you're not going to discriminate based on any ethnic traits. But would you agree that there has just been way too much immigration all around, which is giving rise to all of these people with separate cultures coming in? Because you really can't know what a person's thinks or believes until they're here, and once they're here, it's kind of too late.
Exactly right. There's two parts to this. The immigration debate. First of all, there's just the mechanics of it. Immigration should be stopped dead now because we haven't got the infrastructure. It's as simple as that. Just stop it. Now, if you want to bring people in because there are needs, then we have examples from overseas. Let's say you need 15 doctors that you can't replace here. Great. You bring them in. They're on a particular visa. You take care of every need they have, their housing, their health. The Australian people shouldn't pay for that. If you no longer need them, you send them home. I've been on exactly this sort of contract overseas when I was in the Middle East. I moved into the UAE. I was there 5 years. The company was required to pay my health insurance. It was required to provide housing. It was required. If I lost my job, I had 30 days to get out of the country. So that's how you do it, point number one. So only bring people in that you need to, and it shouldn't cost the Australian people 1 cent. Secondly, people that are here on that sort of a visa, if they have kids, those children are not Australian. It's called citizenship by descent, not citizenship by birth. Just like my daughters that were born over in the UAE, they weren't Emiratis. I got an Emirati birth certificate, but I had to take that birth certificate to the Australian Embassy, where they got an Australian citizenship certificate, and it was called citizenship by descent. I was Australian, therefore they were Australian. So these are really simple solutions. That's the technical, mechanical side. Wagga Base Hospital can handle 55,000 people. It's already handling 65, and the morons in the New South Wales Parliament want to bring another 10,000 people to Wagga. Well, how about we just give Wagga a break, build a better hospital, and then bring the people in? Now, that's the mechanical side. Now we've got the other side. This is an intentional strategy by the governments to destroy the country. Because as was previously said, we've got 200 million Muslims to the north. Let me give you a quick quiz here. What percentage of Indonesians want Sharia? Time up, 73%. So 7 out of 10 Indons are going to want Sharia. Let's bring some more Afghans in. How many Afghans want Sharia? Time's up, 10 out of 10. Now, you can't bring Islam in because Islam is not a religion. It's part religion and mostly world conquest ideology. That's how it works. That's their definition of it. Islam is, as you may have seen me describe, comprises 2 parts. Dar al-Islam, Dar al-Harb. Dar al-Islam is the realm of peace. Dar al-Harb is the realm of war. They have a global requirement to turn the whole planet
the
into...
same for atheists, where they are 80 or 70% voting left-wing? And they become
atheists, the rabid atheists are so small in this country so as to be politically irrelevant. The country is actually, they say Australia's not a Christian country. That's unmitigated horseshit. 51% are Christian, 77, 78% are people of faith. You've got a small packet of I'm not quite sure, and then you've got the rabid atheists. And yet they gob off as if this is a godless country. I'll tell you what, we've had 3 godless countries or civilizations. We had communism, Nazism, and China, and they've killed 100 million people over the last 100 years. So well done, the atheists. You've killed 100 million people over the last 100 years. So I don't need to bat back the atheists. I'm not saying atheists aren't good, and I'm tired. I don't need to hear anything about atheists.
Okay, Dusty. Yeah, it's.